Well, it's another devastating evening where now allegedly a Robert Cook, a 19, potentially 20 year military veteran, Army veteran, just went on a shooting spree in Maine. The individual was apparently a weapons instructor, which makes sense. I mean, after 20 years of being in the military, you start getting promoted, you take on different roles. But in this case, a weapons instructor, reportedly having, according to Bloomberg at least, as of just minutes ago, having previously a report filed against him that he was hearing voices and he threatened to carry out a shooting in a military training base in Maine. This would have been in Saco, Maine, Saco, Maine. So it does appear to be some form of mental health background or some kind of mental health illness. This shooting, to catch you up to speed, occurred around 7 p.m. local time. There were 3 targets of the shooting, all within relative proximity to each other. One apparently a Walmart distribution center. This here on screen, a individuals running away from a bowling alley. The owner of the bowling alley has since come out and reported that there were about 100 to 150 people inside. We actually have the locations and names of the bowling alley as well. So we'll go ahead and put these up on screen. And here we go. These are the 2 sites, not including the Walmart distribution center here. You could see we have Spare Time Recreation. And that's going to be your bowling alley. And about 4.2 miles away by car, you've got this bar and grill restaurant. So a drive apart, but both of these being targets in addition to a Walmart distribution center. Manhunt now underway. The individual is still at large. His name, again, is Robert Cook. This is the alleged shooter. Robert Cook, he is 40 years old, in the military, 20 years. Just 5 months ago, allegedly, based on what people are posting on social media about his other social media, suggesting that he is an individual who seemed to have relatively normal posts on social media, discussing, hey, I'm about to retire from the military after 20 years. Here, by the way, is footage of that Walmart distribution center where it looks like some glass is shattered here, and you could see law enforcement officers here. But apparently, and we'll see, we'll pull up some of these posts in a moment, but again, as of at least 5 months ago, apparently still posting relatively normal commentary such as, hey, I'm going to retire from the military soon. I'm almost at my 20. Do you want to catch up for beer sometime? Sort of regular commentary like that. A lot of questions circulating now in terms of obviously where he is. Individuals still looking for where he could be. This is an active situation right now, especially since the individual is not only armed and obviously clearly dangerous, but he's also trained and a trainer of firearms. There are, now potentially reports that security officials at some of the hospitals thought that maybe the individual was coming to the hospital to potentially further attack individuals. One of the big things you have to remember is we don't know if this person has a vendetta against some of the people who were shot. About 20 people have been killed so far, about 30 injured. These numbers, unfortunately, likely to rise as, people potentially don't make it in hospitals. One of the most important things, though, is if people are unaware, is he going to end up going to sort of these hospitals to attack again? Where is he now? These are things that we're trying to evaluate now. Here's some live footage outside of the hospital that shows you police activity from Fox News on TV here. There is a press conference that's expected to be held soon on some of the latest updates, including officially sort of revealing his name, although the statement with his name has already been revealed and people have been scouring his social media profiles. Here's some footage that's been circulating of somebody basically being proned out and approached by law enforcement officers. This apparently, obviously not Robert Card, given that military, I should say law enforcement officials are still suggesting he is at large. It is entirely possible, given that this is a hunting community, that other individuals would have had weapons that other individuals could have potentially tried shooting back. It's unclear that anybody was actually able to find or locate or fire back and actually hit this individual. You have the Maine Information and Analysis Center reporting the following. This is their press release. The Maine State Police is attempting to locate Robert Card as a person of interest regarding a mass shooting incident at, again, this bar and grill and the Spare Time Recreation, as well as that Walmart distribution facility. He's last known operating a white Subaru Outback. This is a 2013 white Subaru Outback with a black bumper, license plate 9246 Papa Delta. The subject could be, or should be rather, considered armed and dangerous. Caution should be used if contact is made with Card or the vehicle. This is definitely going to stoke concerns again about the state of mental health in America. This is yet another disgusting attack on innocent American lives. It looks like right now the official count is at 16 are dead, though there are updates that has already risen to 20, so that could rise further. Lewiston Police has just confirmed after this press release that yes, indeed, Card is the person of interest that is being sought. It looks like, in addition, you have dozens of individuals. Is somebody making a funny comment? Because right now it's not a funny situation, Jack. People are dying, okay? So we don't want to laugh. I know some people might say silly things in the comments, okay? You could be here, okay? But we have to be respectful to what's happening, all right? So on the website, the Central Maine Medical Center is reporting that their staff is reacting to a mass casualty, mass shooter event. They're coordinating with, obviously, the other local hospitals in the area. They're also encouraging not only businesses close down and lock down, but also individuals who are in their homes, lock their doors and stay inside. The shooting, again, occurred within the last couple hours here at two locations just after 7 p.m. local time in Maine. And now the individual is on the loose. It doesn't appear as though the individual is at this. Oh, we have the press conference just now started. Let's listen in here.
4/4 of 1983 of Bowdoin. Card is considered armed and dangerous. He is a person of interest, however, and that's what we'll label him at moving forward until that changes. If people see him, they should not approach Card or make contact with him in any way. The shelter-in-place order that currently stands in Lewiston remains. A vehicle, which was a vehicle of interest in this incident, was located in Lisbon, and we are now also asking residents in Lisbon to shelter in place. So please share that information with communities as well. If anybody sees Mr. Card or has any additional information reference to these two shootings in the city of Lewiston, please contact 911. If they see anything suspicious, please feel free to call their local authorities. We have literally hundreds of police officers working around the state of Maine to investigate this case, to locate Mr. Card, who again is a person of interest and a person of interest only. And we'll continue to gather information so that we can bring the suspect to justice and ultimately seek prosecution down the road. This release also includes a photo, which I believe I have seen from various sources. I would also let you know that we have created a reunification location, and that would be at the Auburn Middle School. So in the neighboring community of Auburn at 38 Falcon Drive. Again, that's the Auburn Middle School. And when I say reunification center or location, what that means is that if somebody has a question or they have a concern, they can't find a loved one, they believe that a friend or a family member may be involved in what occurred here tonight in Lewiston, that they could respond to that location. We will have some of our
quick note. I'm going to play that again in just a moment. Look at this on screen here. This is where the actual press release does reiterate that he was actually treated for hearing voices and threatening to shoot up the National Guard base in Saco, Maine. Card was also reported to having been committed to a mental health facility for 2 weeks during this summer, and he was subsequently released. Yikes. That's not good. It's not good for the state of mental health in America.
So I would expect if we have additional information, we'll be happy to come back and share it with you. I know that from the city of Lewiston standpoint, probably going to close City Hall after this briefing and probably move everybody out. But again, we appreciate your partnership and your patience. I would offer to take questions just so you know that I probably won't have answers. And as long as you know that going in, there's no disrespect intended in that. Feel free to ask a couple. And if I think we can get there, then I'm happy to answer those. If not, we do have work to do on behalf of our communities, and that's our primary focus this evening.
There are many specific figures about casualties are out there. The Sheriff Sampson told me up as many as 20. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to set the record straight on that.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. And I know that there's been a lot of numbers out there. This is a very fluid situation. So the last thing I want to come up is give you a number and then 3 hours from now, change that in one direction or another.
20 is the current expectation, though 16 is also floating down of actual deaths.
With you, because it's an important piece of healing and it's an important piece of information for all of us to be aware of. But I don't have a firm number on that.
But at least 16, right?
I think I just answered that question to say that I'm not going to give you any specific numbers. And there's been a lot of numbers all over the map all evening. And I don't think that that's helpful.
There's no current document revealing specific details about the treatment or condition that Robert Card was treated for, by the way, at that mental health facility.
I don't have that right now.
Does the suspect have any known criminal history with law enforcement? And is he someone who's been on the radar of state police or local police, to your knowledge?
Well, Mr. Card, who we're speaking about right now, is a person of interest and a person of interest only, right? I'm not listing him as a suspect at this point. And we're not prepared to go into his background or anything else that we may be aware of.
Don't worry, we will.
You're not looking for one shooter, correct?
We're looking for this person of interest right now, and that's what we'll label enlist and speak about at this particular moment. When we have additional information, I'm happy to share that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, thank you for your time. And I know Assistant City Manager O'Malley will make arrangements, I think, to move everybody out of the building. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. These are the flyers that we were mentioning, so feel free to grab those. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, there you have it. That's the latest, at least from the press conference. Not too much additional information from the press conference here, just that the individual is still armed and dangerous. You know, when I ran for governor in California, I ran under the premise that we need mental health, not just for everyone to be accessible. Like, you get a physical every year. Why don't we get mental health screenings on an annual basis? But what we need is mental health education in our schools as well. So individuals and communities can help others who need help, or individuals can try to at least help themselves to the point where they can. But beyond this, the fact that this person was in a mental health facility and then they were discharged after 2 weeks just this summer, and now they're able to take a semi-automatic rifle, long gun, and start attacking and 50 different people is insane. It's absolutely insane. I mean, these are the sort of the red flag laws that we talked about back when Donald Trump was president, where even Donald Trump was calling for, hey, look, if there's a reason, or somebody has a mental health condition and there's a reason to prevent somebody from having access to weapons like this because they're undergoing mental health treatment, then maybe that is the right thing to do. And quite frankly, here, this is an example where, what the hell? This is literally a failure of our government, whose deficit is exploding, to actually protect American lives. Again, Robert Card, somebody who's 40 years old, was in a mental health facility this summer. 20-year Army veteran and firearms instructor, now able to, well, first of all, able to attack at 3 different locations, and now on the run. Who knows if he's going to pop up in another place and cause more mayhem, or if he's just going to try to disappear and, use some of his wilderness survival training from the military, whatever. The point is, here's a town of a population of 36,000, 18.1% poverty that's now on lockdown. And now you wonder, okay, where does he go next? No backpack, no mask, still on the loose. There are now Refinitiv piece coming through here. We have hundreds of police officers now searching for Robert Card in Lewiston, Maine. The odds are he's not actually in Lewiston anymore. I mean, at least I would imagine, if he's able to go from one location to another location 4 miles apart, and he has a white Subaru, he's probably already out of this town, but who knows? 60, if this is, I mean, you could be 3 hours, a 3-hour radius outside of Lewiston right now. Let's see how long it would take to go from Lewiston, Maine to the border of Canada in a vehicle, just to compare. So if I go, from Lewiston, and then we're going to go directions, Lewiston, Maine, and we'll see how many hours this is from the Canadian border. We'll go with, Let's see here. It's quite a bit up here. So we're going to go Sherbrooke. Let's try that. Just to get an idea, this is going to be in the Quebec region. 3 hours. So in actually, that's even quite a bit in. So take off about 50 kilometers. You're probably looking at about 2.5 hours. You could already be on the Canadian border, theoretically. I mean, I'm sure highways, there aren't that many highways that guide you up there. You've got the 141 that'll take you up. You know, you could take up the 3 or the 27, but there aren't that many roads. So this is all just north of Lewiston is Mount Washington. You've got a massive natural area, the Nash Stream Forest. You have the Bigelow Preserve. There is a lot of wilderness in this area. It'd be very easy to make quite a bit of distance with the vehicle, lose the vehicle, somehow cover the vehicle up so that it's not as quickly spotted as then you make your way potentially across the border or otherwise. This is not a militarized border either, like we see, it's between, let's say, Mexico and California, where you have cameras and walls and fences. This is a much looser border, going from America into Canada. So it's entirely possible, as of course is going in a different direction. So anything is possible at this point. But what we do know is that the individual is still on the loose. Let's listen in here for a moment just to see if they have anything new. I'm looking at the wires and I don't see anything brand new right now beyond what we've already covered. But let's listen in.
Does that change the way you approach any kind of contact with this person?
Well, obviously, any violent criminal with a firearm is extremely dangerous, but someone that has been trained in firearms and trained, they obviously...
that's the big thing. I mean, tech tutorials here is a good point. What makes it scary is he was a firearms instructor. As a service member myself, I would be driving myself far away from Maine as soon as possible. This man is as lethal as it gets. You are 100% correct. You do have to stop before crossing. Well, that's if you take the road crossing, right? But I mean, if you ditch your car on the other side, you could just walk across the border in the forest, right? This would be in the forest region. Let's keep listening.
A moment to again express how important it is to support our law enforcement, because they are putting their lives on the line and they are out there trying to protect this community right now. And we need to remember how important their job is. This is absolutely terrifying. I don't care how highly trained you are. When you're going up against an active shooter, a mass shooter, this is dangerous, and it's dangerous for law enforcement. And so, again, we must support our law enforcement.
Okay, there's also now a rumor that potentially there is Robert Card's car may have been found by a boat dock. This is really interesting. So there's talk about a boat dock potentially having been found in Lisbon. This is in Lisbon. And Lisbon is actually to the south. So this is not going into the direction of Canada. So let's take a look at this. So Lisbon, Maine, which is just south of the town. You can actually see that here. The shootings have been marked here. And just south, you have Lisbon Falls. And you do have a river here. Apparently his car was found by a boat dock, which could be at one of the parks or however. It would be very, very interesting to see what direction you want to take a boat, given that these rivers are quite interconnected. But it certainly seems like, heading into a river would corner you more as an individual, unless, of course, you could make your way all the way out. But even over here, you start getting into the Atlantic. You're certainly going to be noticed on your way out by the Coast Guard. But this likely implies that the Coast Guard would probably start getting involved. Let's keep listening in here.
Facility for 2 weeks during the summer of 2023. Yep. He was released. They say, as we've been reporting, he was known to be operating a white Subaru with the Maine registration.
And remember, we keep seeing photos of him as a fisher, or like at least fishing, right? So clearly he'd have access to a boat.
A black bumper. But again, he is a trained firearms instructor. This is a law enforcement bulletin reviewed by Fox News and confirmed by a member of law enforcement. And he's believed to be in the Army Reserve stationed out of Saco, Maine. And this says that he recently reported these mental health issues, to include hearing voices and threats to shoot up the National Guard base in Saco, Maine. He was committed for a few weeks this past summer, several months ago, and subsequently released. Authorities right now, though, still calling him, as you see on our screen, a person of interest, but clearly they want to speak to this guy. They have his picture out there, and they have this bulletin out there to try to get him in custody as soon as possible. Trace.
Yeah, well, there you have it. So again, circling back in full here, you have an individual clearly who has had a mental illness. Here's another picture of him. Here's him fishing, and then here's him today in this horrific shooting that has now occurred. Expectations that 16 to 20 are now dead. This is clearly a mental health situation, given his previous check-in and release from a mental health facility following threats that he wanted to shoot up a National Guard base just this summer. This isn't even an old mental health issue. This is this summer. Okay, so I mean, we're talking about within the last 2 or 3 months here. Absolutely terrible. The suspect is still at large, still waiting for any kind of new information coming through the wires. It does look like at this point the manhunt is just continuing. Again, the car apparently has been found. So, not in the direction of Canada either, actually in the direction of south of Lewiston by a boat dock, right by about where that 196 is. The shootings started close to about 8 p.m. Eastern time, and the suspect is still at large, 40-year-old Army veteran of nearly 20 years, and an individual who apparently used to be a firearms instructor. Not good. Not a good day for America. And my heart goes out to the families. Obviously, this is a case where, once again, America is going to have to reflect on mental health policies throughout the country. So here's some Facebook posts. It's not clear that this is with certainty Robert Card, but here are some that are circulating on Twitter at least. Stuart Ross says, Robert Card, that's awesome. Congratulations on 20 years. I should have stayed in. I'd be at 19 years now. Anyone left from the original 947th or the 439th? We will have to catch up for sometime for a beer. It's been about 11 years. Got Hodgson's up here in Maine now. We moved to the 3rd 304th Training Unit. Go to West Point and conduct the cadet basic training. Can't do any more, so we teach. So this is him potentially referencing now how he teaches. We'll have to hook up for a beer sometime. I know he'll be down. Interesting. Sad news, though. Absolutely terrible. And there were, again, apparently at the bowling alley, somewhere around 100 to 150 individuals inside. Just absolutely devastating. I know I've seen some of the comments here about gun control and some individuals saying, well, if somebody had a CCW, maybe they could have stopped this. Maybe, but the problem is if you're a CCW holder and you're carrying, a Glock 19 or a 27, or maybe you've got a Beretta, or you've got a Beretta Tomcat, a smaller weapon in your purse or something like that. What are you going to do against a military firearms trained individual with no fear or regard for life? Whereas clearly you're going to be fearful and the victim, and you are outgunned and you are outtrained. I mean, the trainer of fighters is coming to fight you, and you're outgunned. Okay, like it's one thing if you had the bigger gun, but they have the skill and the bigger gun and the disregard for life. It's very difficult, I think, to argue here that a CCW individual could have made a big difference here. In fact, there is talk that potentially some CCW individuals were arrested because they were seen with guns, and law enforcement, just saw them left and not him. And of course, those individuals get detained. But look, I mean, mental health is really, I think, a big issue. And it's only going to get worse in our country, especially with what we have with the male, loneliness epidemic people talk about. But it's not just men, it's women have depression as well. Men have depression. There's a massive depression issue in this country. And it's very difficult because even when people know somebody is depressed, like we don't learn about mental health issues in schools. We don't learn how to help other people who have these issues. You try to refer them to a mental health facility, and then you get discharged like this person after 2 weeks, and then they end up going and shooting 50 people. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. And you have to think about these targets too. I mean, not just a bar and grill, but a bowling alley where people take their children. I mean, I'm like, not that I'm here to tell you, if you're a shooter where to go. I'm just saying, like, it's just it doesn't seem like it was targeted at like a certain person. It just seems like, where can I go where people are, people with their families, their children, and just go kill. It is such a failure of the American government. It is such a failure. It's really, really, really disgusting. And I see in the comments here, people say, well, ban guns, guns should be banned. And the reality is there's so many guns already out there, unless you just somehow have a way to go round them all up. That's not a realistic solution, right? It's not a realistic solution to say, oh, it's collect every gun, because people who want guns are going to be able to get access to guns. Because imagine this, people who commit crimes are able to illegally acquire guns. It's sad, but also true. But it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And again, look, I'm not here to say, like, somebody says, sorry, but a kid took a 40-yard shot at an AR shooting individual in a mall. He stopped him. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I didn't say that at all, that you shouldn't have CCW individuals. I'm just saying, don't overestimate the capability of, in a chaos situation of a bowling alley and a bar and grill, that, one or even 5 people with CCWs are going to do anything, right? These are not combat individuals. These are us, like normal people with guns to at least have potentially some hope of being able to protect our family. But yeah, I mean, you could get lucky. You could lob some bullets in the opposite direction. But boy, it's not. It doesn't stop the problem. What potentially, or I mean, maybe it could if you're lucky. But and again, knock on wood, I'm all for trained people with CCWs, but it doesn't stop the mental health epidemic that we have in the country. And that's the problem. You got to fix the mental health problem. It's a complete disaster. It's a massive, massive mental health issue, and it's absolutely disgusting. Somebody here says, Frankie Tam says, Kevin, my restaurant needed to close early because of the shooting. I mean, it's so terrible. First of all, that my heart goes out to your community. I mean, clearly you're in the community here, and this is the kind of crap that's going on. It's like, this is not how people should be spending their Wednesday night. This is absolutely disgusting. This isn't, somebody here says, I wonder if we should all short gun stocks tomorrow. That's not going to do anything. It's not a practical way, to try to fight this problem. A practical way to fight this problem is training and appropriate supervision of people who are trained with firearms. I mean, clearly, this is an Army veteran with access to weapons who had checked into a mental health facility. All of the red flags are there. They've literally made threats about shootings, and yet the person has access to long guns, right? I mean, that's a clear problem. There should almost be like a look, you threaten to shoot anyone up. You know what? It's 5 years, no guns, 10 years, no guns. Hell, you go threaten to shoot anyone up or any place up. How about this? You never get to own a gun again, right? But then people will get the guns illegally, so there's always this balance between the Constitution. But I feel like your right to the Constitution's protections end when you threaten to shoot up a National Guard facility and take people's lives, because clearly those were the precautions and failures that were made here in this case, at least from what we're hearing from the state of Maine, that this individual was checked into a mental health facility for 2 weeks after threatening to shoot up a National Guard base, yet that person still has ready access to firearms. It doesn't seem like there was any kind of effort to remove the firearms. Now, maybe there was. Maybe Maine's going to come out and say, look, we took all his guns and he just stole the guns. Again, then it just goes back to, well, how did the mental health facility fail this badly? How did his mental health get so bad in the first place that it even got to making the first threat? It's a disaster. Armand here says, what should Congress do? And then you got Desert Punk who says my show is lame. Well, go put your own show on. Anyway, somebody here says, what should Congress do, Kevin? In my opinion, and it's what I ran for governor for. One of the premises is I'm a big fan of, first of all, properly fund the police, more funding for the police. I was one of the first people to say that during this whole defund the police movement. I'm like, no, the answer is actually more funding and more training for law enforcement. But beyond that, it's also mental health education. We have PE in schools. Where's ME in schools, which is mental education? Why are we not providing mental health screenings on an annual basis for free for people, just like we do annual physical checkups? How about an annual mental health health checkup. And what this then does is it allows more doctors to enter the mental health profession, basically, which it makes mental health more accessible. If you're a homeless individual today, what do? You're a homeless individual today. You want to go get mental health support? Where are you going to go? Well, you're going to sign up for public mental health support. And it's going to take you 6 months before you even get an appointment. Then and by that point, you might be dead. It's absolutely terrible. So absolutely disgusting and terrible what's going on here. These are some of my thoughts on it, in addition to some of the facts that we have. I'm looking for some of the latest facts now. We're just now getting, let's see, some updates here. Police bulletin. Police confirming still at least 16 dead, though AP reporting 20. Card was sought by as a person of interest. The telephone number listed card in the public records was not in service. Disconnected his phone. That doesn't surprise me. Take away a person's internet access. Understandably so. We have calls to please stay off the roads so that emergency responders and police vehicles can respond to the scene and to various and conduct various searches throughout the region. You have the press conference we heard really provided information on where to go if you needed, personal support to find out where potentially your loved ones are. It's just terrible. Really, I mean, it's just a disgusting situation. And once again, it's a failure on multiple levels of quite frankly, the American government. This is terrible. I mean, 20 years in the military and leaving with mental health problems and then not being able to have the supporting our veterans should be a top priority. I mean, this is sickening, is what it is. So absolutely sickening. Let's listen in for another moment here.
Ken Altshuler, he's a former Portland radio show host. And Ken, it's kind of amazing. You're 16 miles or 36 miles, I guess, away from Lewiston. And this is one of those things that just doesn't happen in this area. What are you hearing about this?
Trace, let me be honest with you. The people of Maine are in total shock. Our motto is that Maine is the way life should be. This does not happen in our backyard. Lewiston's 15 minutes away from my house. We had a total of 29 murders in the state. 1.4 million people, 29 murders last year, which was high. We usually are in the teens. To think that 22 people died in a town Lewiston side. And by the way, Lewiston is not a rural town. It's 37,000 people. It's the second largest city in Maine. It's connected to a sister city, Auburn, which has about 25,000 people. There are no woods to hide in. This is not a rural.
Okay, Brad Triliving says you can get guns illegally. That's the quote, right? And then says, is the dumbest excuse of all time, ban guns. That's not actually true. It's not the dumbest excuse ever. It's entirely reasonable, because if you ban the purchase of new firearms today, you still have to deal with 400 million firearms that exist in households around the country. Are you going to go door to door and scoop them all up? There are guns in almost every single pickup truck in America. Okay. Like it's not that hard. People got guns all over the place. People got multiple guns. Like, it's just not that hard to go steal some of these guns. Have you ever been to San Francisco? You can see how easy it is to steal stuff. Access to guns is not a problem in America in terms of, like, if you wanted access to a gun, you'll get it. To some extent, it's people with a mental health illness. Well, actually, to the primary extent, it's people with mental health illness who have access to guns. That's the problem. But where do you have to fix both to some extent? You have to prevent, ideally, people from having a mental illness. Okay. So ideally, you prevent people from having a mental illness by treating them and by helping them. Damn it. That's what the government's supposed to be for. Then when people have a mental health illness, you minimize their access to things that are dangerous. You don't give a suicidal person a knife, just as an example, okay? Somebody who checked into a mental health facility for saying they're going to shoot up a National Guard base should not have access to a long gun and able to kill 50 people in the span of an hour. Or, well, at least shoot 50 people. We're at 16 to 20 deaths, and hopefully that number does not grow. The others being injured. It's very difficult. There's no one solution here. It's terrible.
The fact that this is a very violent and a very dangerous person who is highly trained with weapons, who apparently is armed and dangerous in this community. Your final thoughts?
Maine is well known for people who are well seasoned in arm safety. So this is a shock. Understand.
Yeah, somebody here in the comments says it was crazy at the Maine Medical Center. I worked there and helped getting everything set up in case we were getting victims. Very tense and very scary. So scary, especially since you could have these individuals end up going to the hospitals as well to kill more people. It's just so terrible. Somebody says here he worked at the Walmart distribution center, frequent at the bar, and was in a bowling league. He's heading home where there will be a 10-hour standoff before he is taken out by SWAT. Wow. That's entirely possible. Let's keep listening.
Our continuing coverage of the war in Israel, but on this night, we have been for the past 2 hours covering breaking news from the United States, specifically Lewiston, Maine, as you see there on the screen on the right-hand side. Lewiston, Maine had a shooting, which could become...
Well, and this is not untrue, right? Mental Health Help today is a prison where they lock you up, pump you up with pharma antidepressants, and then put you on that list that limits your right and makes it harder to get a job. This is true. That's the other problem is like your integration back into society and the stigma of going to a mental health facility is so bad because the quality of care is bad because the funding is low, right? The funding is ludicrous, but then for mental health. But then of course then you have the flip side argument of people saying, well, the government has enough money and it's terrible. It's just a disaster.
Know that there are a number of victims that have been taken to local hospitals and are now being treated. And one of those is a level 2 trauma center with surgeons on standby, as Dr. Mark Siegel was telling us. So that is one good indicator. Police have identified the person of interest, as they are calling him, because they can't match the pictures. They haven't matched the getaway pictures, the walking out, the surveillance pictures with that picture and his identity. He is 40-year-old Robert Card. The interesting thing about him is he is military. He's said to be an active reservist who is an instructor in firearms. So he's an expert with weapons. You see him coming out of one of the locations that appears to be the bowling alley. And then that's the same location. And then there are pictures of him coming out of the other location as well. It's interesting when you look at all of this because this person is still on the run. Police have found a car that they believe belongs to Robert Card up in Lisbon, a few miles outside of Lewiston. And they believe that is his car, but they have not found the shooter himself. And they believe that he is armed and dangerous and very, very lethal. I want to bring in Bill Malugin for the latest on what we're hearing and the latest information coming out of this, Bill.
And Trace, that manhunt is very much still ongoing right now. We continue to listen in on those police scanners. They did announce that they found a vehicle of interest in that Lisbon area. Again, about 15.
Remember, that is south of where the attack occurred, and it is believed to have been near a boat dock. This is somebody who's had pictures on social media of him fishing, so likely has experience with boats. It's unsure if he's just going out to escape on one of these rivers, or is this potentially a case where he's going to a place that he is familiar with to hide out for law enforcement to come to fight them there? Or is he going to end it himself, so to speak? Clearly the person has a mental health massive problem. It's a mental health disaster, and I just pray that there aren't many more or any more attacks. Yeah, Cody Moore here aptly says that yesterday was a pilot who tried to disable the engines of a plane mid-flight. This is true. A struggle ensued. The pilots had to wrestle him. This individual tried to reach the exit handle of this Embraer airplane. There were about 84-ish individuals on board. Plane carries, I think it was the Embraer like 175 or whatever, so it could have carried more. But anyway, this is mental health. It's just it's a mental health and a depression epidemic that we're facing in the country. That's disgusting. So again, if you're just now tuning in, keep in mind this was a 20-year Army veteran, 40 years old, weapons instructor in the Army, threatened to carry out a mass shooting on a National Guard military base, which ended up leading him getting checked into a mental health facility for about 2 weeks this summer, where he was then discharged. He said he was hearing voices. Today, he ended up attacking a bowling alley with about 100 to 150 people inside, including about 20 children, a Walmart distribution center, and a restaurant. Some individuals say, I saw in the comments here, some people say he worked at it, or he visited the restaurant. Maybe he worked at the distribution center and was part of the bowling league. Who knows? Lewiston, again, a town of 36,000 individuals, 18.1% poverty. Now a call to stay inside as the manhunt continues outside of Lewiston, now specifically focused on Lisbon, where the individual's white Subaru Outback was located near a boat dock. This is a town that has a hunting and fishing tradition. A lot of people know weapons. This individual didn't appear to have a mask or a backpack, still on the loose. Clearly, there was a period of time people thought he might be trying to escape to Canada, but again, his car was found to the south, so it appears not to be the likely direction of where he's going. Who knows if he ended up hijacking another car, and moving on with a different vehicle, and essentially pointing law enforcement's direction into a different direction to imply he's getting on a boat, when in reality he is in a different car going in a different direction. We don't know how fully premeditated this was. It's entirely possible that he had another car parked there that he could have then taken, gone somewhere else, gone north again. Who knows? Nobody knows. All we know at this point is that there is a shooter on the loose who is a military trained individual. We know he had mental health problems. And once again, our mental health system, whatever we want to call it, the government, the facilities, childhood training, military training, whatever we want to call it, there were clearly failures where not only this person had these issues, didn't get the help they needed, and now murdered 16 to 20 people, injured another 30, and it's entirely possible that there could be more deaths as treatment continues for the 30 who are injured. Absolutely disgusting. It's terrible, 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 terrible. I wish everybody stays safe. If you're in the area, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. I wish everyone the best. As more updates come through, I'll provide more updates. Keep in mind, on November 1st, HouseHack's funding round will be closing. Read the offering circular there, househack.com. You can invest in my startup, my real estate startup. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.